Hello and welcome to another video from the fanpub.com. We're looking at waiver wire pickups. It was an interesting week one, wasn't it? There's always players that come out of nowhere and teams you expect to do well struggle. You know, like the Browns. They were pretty sort of fashionable pick, and the Titans D looked legit. Really, I don't know if it's just week one sort of jitters or what, but Mayfield did struggle a bit, and so did the Browns, to be honest. But there was a lot of weird results last year for week one. So don't panic too much. Don't be. The thing is, you can't throw away your studs or your good players just after one bad game. That's one tip. People overreact, and you shouldn't be doing that. But what we're here to do is give you an idea, a steer for some waiver wire pickups that you might want to target, depending on the position you need. So win, lose or draw from week one. Even if you scored a big score, never rest on your laurels. You can improve your team every week. If you don't, then you're decreasing your chances of winning. Obviously, don't throw away your good players that just had one bad week. This is for where it really looks bad for somebody where you're playing in a deeper league and you're looking for somebody with some upside. So okay, let's get on with it. So Josh Allen had a mixed first week. 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles, but he still finishes QB 14. He's that dual threat, 254 passing yards. He had a touchdown and 38 rushing yards, so he has got that sort of dual threat. Tough matchup as well last week, but it looks much better for him in week 2. They've got the New York Giants. We all saw how bad they were against Dallas, and obviously the upside with the rushing potential as well makes him a potential streaming quarterback for you that have been going to be streaming your quarterbacks this year. Again, same sort of scenario. Even with the Antonio Brown fiasco, it didn't stop Derek Carr and the Raiders. They actually, outplayed the Broncos, thoroughly deserved their win. 259 passing yards, ownership of any 13%, 1 touchdown. 15 points, not great, but you consider some of the flops this week, you'll take it because Cam Newton, Jameis Winston. There's a lot of poor performances. Like I say, don't overreact. That's not one thing you want to do, really, to be honest. You've got to give them a few weeks. If by then they're still not producing, then you look at getting rid of them. Derek Carr's got the Kansas City Chiefs this week. Minshew and Foles from Jacksonville actually combined would have ranked as QB6 against Kansas City last week. So Kansas had a poor defense last year. It doesn't look like it improved much from week one. It's early days, but Carr might be someone that you can flex again, or if you need a QB instead of Foles or somebody, you can pick him up. Matt Stafford, another one, had a huge week. He said he owned in 8% of leagues. This guy has had some big fantasy seasons before, hasn't he? He's finished quite high, but the last few years he's really dropped down the rankings. Detroit looked a poor team. Evenly matched with Arizona, I thought. Both QBs did well. 385 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and 22 rushing yards. He was 4th ranked QB overall. And, it was actually a decent game. Both teams sort of failed to win it in overtime. So he's got another it could be a favourable matchup against the Chargers this week because they're going to be behind and Chargers will put up points, so they're going to have to throw all day. Chargers have a decent defence, but they've lost Derwin James and a few other bits, and they're playing him early, so they're going to lean on him to throw a lot to try and come from behind in that game. So again, if you might well have better options, but if you're streaming, then he could be one to watch. Andy Dalton again. He actually had the best, I think I'm right in saying, the best sort of passing game of his career, which a lot of you might say is not too difficult. He threw for 418 yards. Zach Taylor's offense actually looked really good, didn't it? John Ross sort of broke out in that game. We hadn't seen anything from him, and I know he's probably one that will be coming up later in the list when we're going through wide receivers. But I think you can't argue with what we were looking at. 20 points, 418 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, only owned in 2% of leagues. And they've got the 49ers this week. So, again, in deeper leagues, he's an interesting streaming option for you to pick up. Honourable mentions. I'm not a fan of Mariota myself, but, he got 24.32 passing yards last year. He's only owned in 3% of leagues. And, again, if you're looking for a guy, Eli Manning, again, not a big fan of him. They got Buffalo week 2. Gardner Minshew, actually, he came in and did a really good job for the Jags, I thought. He looked quite promising. They didn't sort of miss a beat when he came in. Whether he can keep that up long term is a different matter. And a tricky game in Houston on the road next week. So we'll see what he's made of a bit by then. And Case Keenum's probably another QB that, his ownership value says it all, 1%. He's probably undervalued. He's probably always been undervalued. Okay, he's an average QB, but he's he put up 27 points last week, ranked 6 overall. You can't really argue with that. Right, let's move on to the running backs now. Devin Singletary, as you know, if you've watched the show, hopefully you have been. We tipped him before the news broke about McCoy. Sean's been massive on him all year. He's very quiet first half, and you're thinking, well, yeah, okay, we said he'd be like, week 3, week 4 before we actually see him. But he actually came on. I think he actually turned the game. 70 rushing yards, 28 receiving yards. He had a 98 point game. Little over 50% in ownership, so he's still available in a lot of leagues. Hopefully, if you've been watching us, you've been snagging him. He looks a real deal, doesn't he? Okay, it's a short sample size, but he's got a bright future, and we've been tipping him for the win that starting job. And when you watch Gore run and him run, it was chalk and cheese. Singletary was electric. He's quite elusive, and he turned the game. They couldn't stop him. I think he had like 70 yards on 4 rushes or something ridiculous. When he came into the game, and totally changed the game. Right, let's move on to the next one. And this is an interesting character. I didn't think I'd be saying this, but you got to hand it to Rojo. If he actually looked the better of the two running backs there at Tampa. Well, the 3 running backs actually. Ogunbowale actually had the most snaps. I think I'm right in saying, but Jones actually looked the best of them, which is quite worrying really for Peyton Barber. There was some hope. There was some signs of life there. Jameis Winston actually killed that game for the Bucs. A lot of podcasts were tipping him up this year. He's going to be a top 10 QB. He's going to throw for miles. He's got the weapons. Well, this game actually highlighted what we were saying about he doesn't look after the ball. I think it was 3 interceptions, was it? He just makes bad decisions, I think. And although, he's clearly got talent, he's just, maybe he can pick up, but I think it's a big make or break year. And if they have a really poor year, then there's 2 or 3 nice quarterbacks coming into the league that, you think the Tampa Bay they'd be high on their list. Rojo only owned in 32% of leagues. I saw kickers going before him in a lot of leagues, and he's a hard one to trust. But if you're in a deeper league, or if he's available and you've got somebody injured, then why not? Carlos Hyde, his ownership's only 23%, which is ridiculous because he's going to be the runner between the tackles. I think I said this on. I tipped him to score first touchdown. He didn't do that, but he wasn't a 25-1 shot. Him and Duke were sort of split in time. Duke's not a runner between the tackles. He does do the odd run, but he's more of a pass catcher. So Hyde's your man. He's not overly exciting. We all know what Hyde is. We've seen enough of him by now. He's on a sort of high-powered offense. The Texans looked good last night and lost in a thriller, didn't they? So, really good game. And then you need to see how his role progresses because, he should be owned in every league, really, I think. Barring like 8 and 10 team leagues, he's definitely worth a stash on the bench, if nothing else. So, if he's there, and take a shot at him perhaps. Now Gio Bernard, he surprised me. He signed a new deal with the Bengals. He's only in the mix for deeper leagues really. He is sort of a dual threat. 63 all-purpose yards. Mixon went down. He's only really a play if Mixon's not a go or he's in a severely limited role because Mixon's the number one. There's no doubt in that. But Gio's a serviceable back and like I say, he's a dual threat. And keep an eye on the Mixon news because we think he'll probably play week 2, but it's touch and go. So Gio could hold some value in those deeper leagues. Malcolm Brown. Now, we actually tipped Singletary to be the man to own in this, and maybe in time he will. But basically, it was based on Todd Gurley's not going to be the bell cow there. That was the reasoning. So for the same reasoning, because Brown got the work and he actually did well with the role. 53 rushing yards isn't outstanding, but 2 touchdowns really helped him. And they didn't give Gurley the ball till late in the game, and it shows you they're really looking after him. They're really scared about Gurley. So I don't know. As a fantasy owner, let us know. Are you happy with Gurley? Are you worried about him? We were telling people not to draft him. We're not. It's too early to say whether that was good advice or not. But the fact that Malcolm Brown's on this list tells you there's something there, doesn't it? Okay, honourable mentions. Rex Burkhead actually had a bigger role than Sony Michel. I don't know if Michel got a knock, or I know he's had knee issues in pre-season, but he's only a desperation play, Burkhead, really, in deeper leagues. But, running backs are hard to find in deeper leagues, so at least he's somebody that you could plug and play for in your flex, perhaps, in a desperation week, on a bye week that you might need. Raheem Mostert, well, he's in because Tevin Coleman obviously went down. He's going to miss a bit of time. We're still waiting for the information to come back on the MRI. But Raheem Mostert, him and Breeder are going to share the backfield by the looks of it. And he didn't look bad. Didn't look bad when he came in. And he didn't look bad when he came in last year. He is a bit fragile, but so is Breeder, as we know. He seems to get injured every week. He got injured again this week. Or he went off for I think he had an intravenous drip put into him because he was dehydrated, I guess. But a bit worrying. So I think Mostert picked up a knock as well. So it's an interesting backfield, that one. But if you're in like I say, deeper league, Mostert could be one to target. Chris Thompson, obviously, same sort of reason. He's only owned in 2% of leagues, especially in PPR. He is the pass catching back there. But Garrett Geis injured his other knee. We don't know how bad it's going to be yet, but he's going to miss some time. And obviously, with injuries to both knees, he did his ACL in the other one. Then any sort of that backfield might be interesting. And he's definitely going to get pass catching work. You'd expect AP to come back and take the main running between the tackles, and he's not a great pass catcher anyway. So, and he had a good year for Washington last year, but I don't know. There's something going on. I mean, AP was inactive. I couldn't understand that last week. It's almost like they sending a message in to him, basically, where you're not needed. But I think they're going to have to extend an olive branch now because he certainly is needed, especially with the Geis news. And another one. It says Pittsburgh Steelers, but it's Philadelphia Eagles. Darren Sproles on there. You see his Eagles kit. Eagles are so frustrating to own the backfield. There's Miles Sanders, there's Jordan Howard, there's Darren Sproles. Corey Clement came in for some snaps. It's really annoying. Knowing who to play and why. It's anybody's guess. It's ridiculous, isn't it? It's frustrating as a fantasy owner, but, that's just the way it is. They do what's best for their team, I guess. But, he came in and he was 26th overall in the running back rankings. So he's got Atlanta in week 2. So we saw how poor they were, and they're poor against the run as well. But I guess again, it's only for deeper leagues. The thing about Burkhead as well, looking at it, is week 2 opponents Miami, and they were dumpster fire, weren't they? They are tanking, and then some. They were a horrible mess. It's really sad to see, but I guess, if you're a fan of Miami, you're just going to have to accept that that the time for you, the exciting time for you, is going to be next year's draft in March, April, or wherever it is, because you've got a couple of first round picks. You're building for the future, and that's the way you got to think of it this year. Okay, let's move on. Right. Okay, excited rookie. He actually seemed to have more plays than Tyler Lockett, didn't he? I mean, Tyler Lockett did score the touchdown. I mean, it wasn't a mind-blowing stat, 4 catches for 89, but he's that deep threat. And he looks clearly, 1A or 1B from week 1. I mean, you'd expect him to be wide receiver too, but, the way it was, they certainly, he wasn't slow in, they weren't slow in targeting. They obviously trust him. The rapport's there with Russell Wilson. And 89 yards, you can't complain at that, can you, for a first week? I mean, he was injured for a bit before the off-season, so, it's not a bad thing. Michael Gallup is somebody I targeted. I put on our PPR video for someone to target late in drafts, and he's only owned in 23% of leagues, 158 yards and 7 catches. I mean, they got Washington this week, which looks another favourable matchup, but... I mean, that 22.8 points for somebody who would pick it down there. If you followed the advice, then, hopefully you're happy with him. You've got yourself a player by the looks of it. He looks like Dak just looked superb, didn't he? And he's got apparently there's a deal imminent, if you believe Jerry Jones, which, can you? But, I mean, he did look the part, Gallup, and he's in his second year, so he's entitled to improve on his role, and he's definitely one worth keeping an eye out if he is there. If you're one of the 77% of leagues that he's in, obviously don't drop anyone too bad for him, but if you'll know yourself whether there's someone you're happy to drop and go from there. Right, next player, Marquise Brown. I mean, what a first game he had. He's called Hollywood for a reason. It's only 4 catches, and I think he played on something like only 17% of snaps. It was something ridiculously small. So whether he can, whether he could do that on a consistent basis on them snaps, or whether because of how well he did and because he was stretching the field that they give him more snaps, I don't know, but. It was almost a dream debut, wasn't it? I mean, how much did he get carried away? It was the Dolphins, and they look horrible, don't they? Jackson certainly looked more comfortable as a passer as well. He's a dual threat again with running. So, having that rapport with Marquise Hollywood Brown and Lamar Jackson, that can make all the difference. I say Miami were dreadful. Too bad. I'd say too bad to be true, but. You wouldn't surprise you if they carried on down that sort of vein of form, wouldn't it? Again, they've got Arizona. Marquise Brown has Arizona this week, and Patrick Peterson's out for I think it's 8 weeks. So, and I know their second corner didn't play last week as well. So he could well be somebody to well worth targeting as well. I mean, definitely one to keep an eye on. Next one. Is John Brown. He actually had 7 catches, a touchdown, and 123 yards. He's only owned in 5% of leagues, which is amazing. I guess a lot of people play in smaller leagues than the ones I'm used to. But he's got the New York Giants next week, and he looks clearly the wide receiver one there. Josh Allen looks to, target. He's got a big arm, 7 targets. What's not to like, really? I'd say if he's there, he's definitely one to target. Moving on, John Ross. Bengals again. We've been waiting for this breakout for ages. To be honest, I'd given up on it, and looking at the ownership level, 1%, then I think most of you guys had as well. 34.8 PPR points. His PPR rank is 3, so his position rank's 2. But again, they got San Francisco this week. AJ Green's still going to be out, so what's not to like? To be honest about John Ross, it was very exciting. What do you guys think? I'd I'd like to hear what you think. Are you buying into Ross now? Or is it like you're not buying in just because it was one game? Wide receiver 2 in targets. It's in sort of points and 7 receptions. He could actually have a breakout year. It's just he's probably going to cost you quite a bit to get him, and if you're playing WAB or FAB, whatever waiver budget you've got. But be interested to see what people are happy to bid on him. I'd like to know myself really, because I've got to make that decision in a few leagues. So, I tell you, will his role decrease when AJ Green's back? And where was Tyler Boyd? Didn't see much from him, did we? Okay, moving on. Right, we've got DJ Chark. These are honourable mentions. So in deeper leagues, obviously he's not owned in 0% leagues. He will be in deeper leagues, I think, but any very deep ones. 20 points for this week, 8 overall. Look to have some chemistry with Minshew as well, so definitely an interesting one. But I think this would only be in deeper leagues. Most of these would be. Philip Dorsett, and again owned in 1% of leagues. You got Antonio Brown coming back, so you'd expect that to hurt him as well, wouldn't you? So, 2 touchdowns, 21.5 points, and 6th overall. I mean, it'd be pretty tough for anyone to predict that, to be honest. Terry McLaurin, again, rookie with the Redskins. Keenum had a massive week, 18.5 points. He's another deep threat. You've got to think that people will be a bit more wary of these sort of deep threats, and you get away with it for 1 week, but you've got to think they'll have a plan to watch him. It's definitely worth the pick up in those deeper leagues, I think, because Washington are going to have to throw a lot, you'd think. So, because I think they're going to struggle a lot in games this year. AJ Brown, another rookie, Tennessee Titans, had a quietly good game. A few nice catches and a few nice runs after the catch, actually, where he's quite elusive and quite hard to bring down. He was definitely a highly rated wide receiver coming into the league, and he certainly didn't let himself down in week 1, and he could be someone to keep an eye on. But again, he's only owned in 2% of leagues, so he's certainly one to tight. Green Bay tight ends we're on to now. Jimmy Graham, obviously, has been a stalwart in the league. Nothing we need to. He got the actual. The sort of game-winning touchdown it turned out to be against Chicago in week 1. Only 3 catches for 30 yards, but this is the sort of thing that tight ends do, isn't it, really? He's sort of position rank is 8 and 11 in PPR. Minnesota week 2, you'd expect that to be another pretty tough game. But, he's probably too good to be on the waiver wire. And if you need a tight end, then he could be your man. TJ Hawkinson, now, he is somebody that surprised me. I'm never a fan, to be honest. I've got to be honest. I'm never a fan of rookie tight ends coming into the league. He was he looked the absolute real deal, a complete stud. 6 catches, 131 yards, and a touchdown. Absolutely amazing. It looks like he's going to be a big part of that offense. Let's hope this isn't an outlier and he is going to be this new star tight end of the league, because we all like that in fantasy, don't we? So, not playing against you particularly, but pick him up, I'd say. And obviously, if you've got one of the lesser tight ends, obviously don't drop Kelsey or Kittle or any of the big guys. But he looked outstanding week 1. You've got to give it to him. This is another guy that we had on our late tight ends to target. Only owned in 7% of the leagues. I don't know why. He's going to catch a lot of passes. 7 catches week 1, 70 yards. I mean, for a tight end, 14 points in PPR, you'll take that every week. 7th overall in PPR and 13th overall. So he is that sort of. He'll be around that sort of top 10 to 15 tight end this year, by the looks of it. Let's hope he can stay healthy, because clean. That's another thing. So Antonio Brown's targets are going to go somewhere. So Darren Waller looks like he'd be. I actually tipped him at 25-1 to be first touchdown scorer this week, and him and Ryan Grant at 40s. And then on the first drive that they scored on, it was I think Waller 2 catches, Grant 2 catches, and then the final patch went to Terrell Williams in the end zone. So a bit gutted there. So 4 of the 5 catches were my guys, but no close, but no cigar. So if he can keep that up, then he could be a valuable target. Tyler Higbee, obviously only 1% of leagues. 4 catches for 20 yards and a touchdown. So tight ends are often touchdown dependent. He got one this week. But if you're desperate, then Tyler Higbee's worthy of a pickup probably. He was a top tight end this week, 11 in PPR. So I wouldn't go overly excited about him, but he's definitely a name to watch. Just honourable mentions, Vernon Davis. I mean, what a player, what a legend this guy's been. Obviously, he's only owned in 1% of leagues. That's mainly because Jordan Reed's normally the tight end number 1. But what an able deputy. And, he was like a spring chicken. He might be old, but, I'm sure he hurdled the player to score his touchdown. Very, very exciting. And he was 5th overall, but only with 11.9 points. But, I think if Reed continues to miss time, and bearing in mind he's got a history of concussions and other injuries, basically anything, he could trip over a stone, every day, that bloke, and injure himself. Seems that way anyway. Blake Jarwin, another one. He was a touchdown pass from Dak Prescott. Cowboys completely dominate against the Giants. But, again, if you need to take a shot at somebody low down, and people like Carl Rudolph has scored 0 this week. He's maybe somebody you can pick up. CJ Uzama, Cincinnati Bengals, only 1% of the leagues. Again, did pretty well with Dalton, but that was a big week for Dalton. 14th rank overall, 418 yards for Uzama, so he only got 6.6 points. So again, I think it's desperation pickups really. And same with James O'Shaughnessy from the Jags. Only 3.2 points, and they got Houston next week. I mean, they're sort of real desperation plays, really. If you're looking down low for somebody or you've got an injury. Houston's D, only 49% of the leagues, as Jacksonville week 2 with rookie Gardner Minshew sort of at the helm. So, I mean, it is quite a good. If you're streaming sort of defenses, then playing against rookie QBs, it is quite a good tactic, I think, because obviously there's bound to be. They haven't got that rapport. They haven't got the reps. Well, admittedly, he looked good in his sort of limited time, but let's see if he can do it again week 2. But Houston could be a sneaky streaming play. Kansas City again. Oakland is sort of a team in flux. They've got them this week, so I can see why that's in there. They got a sack and an interception and a fumble last week, so. And they're position 11, and they're only 31% of the league, so definitely one to target. Green Bay Packers. I mean, what a week 1 game they had against the Bears. He looked much improved defense from last year. Minnesota obviously a slightly better proposition offensively than the Bears, but the Packers could still get at them. Packers could turn into like a top defense, really. That's the sort of thing with defenses. They're really hard to. You got new coaches, new schemes, new players. It sort of changes every year, and maybe Packers. I mean, let's see if they can keep it up from week 1, because if they are, 4th best defense of the week. So let's see if they can carry on, and they might be someone to pick up and just see how they get on. Carolina Panthers only owning 14% in the leagues. They got a sack and an interception. But they got Tampa Bay, and we all know likes to throw an interception. I mean, Winston's not slow in coming forward, so in throwing the interceptions, is he? So, maybe they're the one to own this week. But can Winston be that bad again 2 weeks running? He has got a history of it, and but I think last week was probably a bit too bad to be true. But again, if you're streaming defenses, you could go do a lot worse than that. I think the Jets and the Titans, these are two sort of very underrated defenses. Same with Buffalo, actually. I'll put them in there as well. But but they've got slightly higher ownership, I'd expect. Ownership 6%. They got Cleveland, and Cleveland looked a bit of a mess last week. I don't think that'll continue, but Jets sort of, I think they can keep the points down at least. Third best defense of the week. We put them up on the DFS plays of the week. They were nice and cheap. And 18 points first week. It's not to be sniffed at for a defense, is it? And probably an even bigger one to target, because the Titans look really good in week 1. Ownership of 3%. They look the real deal. They got Indianapolis, and we all know they've got no Andrew Luck now, and Brissett under centre. Although he's not a bad QB, he's not Andrew Luck, is he? So there you go. There's our waiver wire pickups of the week. Let us know if we've missed anybody, because I play in quite a lot of leagues, as a lot of people know. But so I'm all for people spotting players that I've missed. And if you've enjoyed the video and you find it helpful, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you've enjoyed the content, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.